The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. This show is brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, which is possibly the most exciting thing I think we've heard today.
It's the first thing I've heard in this podcast, certainly. So, yes, it is. And you can get Will's Probate Conveyancing with a discount if you go to... I'll hand back to you for that.
Thank you, mate.
Because it keeps it interesting.
levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. If you're a regular listener or viewer, you may have heard that before.
Possibly.
If you're new, check it out. Check it out if you're old. Check it out if you're in between. 10% discount on your legal fees. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. You know what a solicitor does. Just have a look. Dan, Michael, and Dean here in the studio and flying across the Atlantic like...
I don't know what you're hoping for.
I don't know. I was going to say Concorde.
It used to, didn't it? But yeah. It's breakfast time over there, isn't it? It's like time travel almost.
Yeah. Good morning, Rob Conlon, who is in the United States of America. Where are you in that big country?
I am in Pittsburgh. I got here yesterday, and I am pre-breakfast to speak to you lot.
Lovely to have you on, Rob.
Well, given it is 7:30 there, as we speak to you, if you've been following the Jake Humphries plan, you would have been up and done some yoga, done an hour in the gym, fired off some important business emails. You've done nothing. You're doing nothing with your life.
Yeah, I can confirm I'm not following the Jake Humphries plan.
So you are in the United States of America because Copa America has been on there. And we're going to round up the Euro stuff in the second half of this show, but we'll speak to you first, as you're on the line. We got you out of bed, so we might as well have a chat. Hey, how has it been out there? Because there's been... Well, it's looked like pandemonium, basically, as Copa America. What's it been like? I was going to say up close. I don't know how close you got to it.
Yeah, it's been bonkers, the entire thing. I started off in Vegas for the quarterfinal, which is just bonkers by definition of being Vegas. But yeah, got there and it was like, I landed at night and it was like plus 40 degrees and it was too hot. So I was in Vegas for Uruguay v Brazil, the quarterfinal. And even that was full of Colombia fans who have not been able to escape the whole trip because they thought they were going to finish second in their group. They thought they were going to finish second, but they ended up winning it, which I was chatting to one Colombia fan who'd been to their game in the group stage against Brazil, and he was secretly buzzing when Rafinha had put Brazil ahead and then was secretly furious when Colombia equalised because it meant he was going to the wrong quarterfinal. But yeah, I mean, they've just basically... been fighting on the pitch, in the stands. It's been a lot of fighting.
What was it like being in the same place as Marcelo again? Did it give you butterflies?
It was lovely to see him straight away on his water cooler. I was kind of watching him as much as I was watching the game. Obviously, he got his big hug with Rafinha twice. But yeah, it was lovely to see, albeit the football I have seen has been definitely more of the scrapping intensity of Bielsa rather than the beautiful passing and scoring. I feel slightly guilty because they'd romped the group stage and scored 9 goals before I got here, and then I turned up as a Leeds fan and they failed to score in both games that I saw.
And did you see anything of Jesse? Because obviously Marcelo and Jesse had a little showdown.
Yeah, so I missed that game because I was in DC over the weekend to see Mateusz Klich play, but I watched Canada's semi-final against Argentina in a bar in Charlotte. And yeah, I wrote on the blog, like, as soon as I saw Jesse singing the national anthem, I just felt pathetically angry. And yeah, he's really got his ideas across. He's just Neil Warnock with a certificate from Princeton. Like, it's huff and puff football. They just rush around crashing into people. And then Warnock, and then Marsh just moans at the referee. But yeah, so he's up to his usual tricks. At the end of the DC game, just as I was leaving, a fan was watching the Canada-Uruguay third place playoff on their phone. And Canada had just taken the lead late on. And they were like, wow, look at Jesse, he's so pumped. And it's kind of all you hear of him. It's like, oh, he's really passionate, isn't he? Yeah, he's a massive dickhead, though.
Not a fan, then. Well, I was going to say, actually, he was singing from a similar hymn sheet to Marcelo, who absolutely blew his top. Did you see this? Like, completely blew his top. And you were saying, Dean, weren't you, beforehand, like before we started recording, you've watched it so many times.
I loved it. Because it doesn't matter what he was saying, I was going to agree with him. So my question was going to be for Rob is, have you seen that play out on the ground? Like, but Bielsa's talking about how badly the tournament has been run. The pitches have been naff. Have you seen that from your vantage point over there in the States?
Yeah, it's been pretty mad. I mean, watching the Argentina-Canada game just on the telly, I was watching it and the ball was making huge splashes as it hit the ground. And I was like, oh, it must be throwing it down there. And then you realise that, no, it's not raining. They've just completely messed the pitch up. And the security, obviously at the end of the Colombia-Uruguay semi-final when it kicked off in the stands, that was Bielsa's big sort of point to rail against, because by all accounts, the families and friends of the players were just kind of stuck there. And it was pretty bonkers outside the ground, but it didn't seem too bad. It just felt like a crazy atmosphere. But then if you see videos from the final, that just seemed really bad. And when you've got fans like climbing through air vents to get into the ground and there being a massive potential of a crush outside, like, yeah, that's just really bad. I mean, you say Jesse's been singing from the same hymn sheet, but he's just been moaning about the refs, which,
stuff that concerns him rather than stuff that concerns everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, nothing like that would ever happen if a tournament was hosted in England. For example, you'd expect security and arrangements around final to be absolutely watertight, wouldn't you? In most places.
Well, this is the thing. Like, CONMEBOL obviously organised this tournament, so you'd expect things to be far better. I mean, in FIFA, there's plenty of sticks you can beat FIFA with, but you'd expect the organisation to be better in 2 years' time than it has been for this tournament. People speaking to people in the States were saying that they just did not have enough security staff, just did not have enough organisation there, like boots on the ground, to oversee this sort of thing. But then, like you say, you draw a parallel with it's the Euros over here, wasn't it? It was the continent-wide tournament that finished up at Wembley, and that went a bit mad.
But is it not maybe partly a culture clash? A lot of American sports fans sit next to each other from opposing teams, whereas with football and Latin American football, the fans coming together will clash. There will be boiling points, and maybe they've just not been used to that before. I'm trying to make excuses for these lads, and I don't know why. But the thing that really touched with me with Bielsa was just how annoyed he got. And I was saying to the lads in the studio before we started recording, I kind of am gutted that we didn't see a little bit of that at Leeds, but maybe he was just really happy with us. Maybe he just loved it here, so he was calm and nice.
I mean, the FA and the Football League always been great to Leeds. Always.
Yeah, historically.
It shows how pissed off that he got, because all through the tournament, he was kind of smiling and laughing in press conferences and cracking jokes and even looking at the journalists, which he never actually did in England. And then, that is the angriest I've ever seen him. But in terms of in the ground, like, fans have been mixed, but I've seen very, very little trouble inside the ground during the games. Like, fans have been mixed and just sort of cracked on with it. I mean, so in Vegas, it was Brazil, Uruguay fans, and then a load of Colombians. In Charlotte, it was crazy. It was like 95% Colombia fans and some sort of Uruguay fans keeping their heads down. But during the game, there wasn't really any trouble that I saw anyway. I think coming out of the semi-final, there was a little pocket of scrapping on the concourse, which I tried my best to stay out of. But actually in the ground, I think the mixed fans thing hasn't necessarily been a problem. But outside the ground, it's just been pretty badly managed, I think.
Is there much local interest there for it? Because obviously you're talking about the vast numbers of Colombians there, and America being the nation it is, it's got a lot of Colombians living there kind of natively anyway. But I mean, is it a big event? Does it feel big in terms of, like, is it being covered in local news, or is it like the talk of bars and stuff, or is it just like a thing that's going on and it's for tourists?
Yeah, you bump into some American-based fans here that are into it or have gone to the games, but not massively. Like, it's been covered and it's on the telly, but when you tell people that you're here for the soccer, they're just a bit like, oh, right. Like, the guy at Customs and Immigration at Vegas just refused to believe that I would come here to watch soccer. He couldn't understand why I was here. But yeah, there are some people into it. But then, I went to the DC game the other day, and the ground's half empty, and I think that was kind of because there was a baseball game literally over the road. But yeah, the crowd was very subdued, and you get the sense that a lot of the fans that are into it tend to be Hispanic.
And you've got a pricing issue as well. I know a lot of the prices have been very, very high for tickets, which I think is possibly one of the causes of people trying to sneak into the stadium in the final rather than buying tickets. So like astronomical prices on the tickets.
There seems to be more of an acceptance in the States that you do just pay an absolutely extortionate amount for sporting events, whereas in this country there's a bit more of a like, well, we go to this every week, so it should be affordable to go to. And there's an acceptance finals and stuff be more expensive, but I get the feeling that's the culture in the States seems to be more like, well, if you've got a ticket, it's like a jackpot for you and you can sell it if you want. And everyone will make as much money as possible.
I was kind of relieved that Uruguay didn't make the final, because I was going to have to scramble together like $1,200 to try and get a ticket to go to Miami. So once I didn't get there, I was like, that's fine. I can just go watch DC, where it was like $25 or something, which is much more my price range.
How was Clicky?
He was good. I unfortunately didn't get to see him for an interview, but he played really well. I was worried as a bit of a curse because DC hadn't won a game for 2 months. I think they were bottom of the Eastern Conference over here.
Big relegation battle then, yeah?
Yeah. Fingers crossed they'll beat it. But I think that they went a goal down like straight away in the first half as well. But Klich was really good. He really stood out because their other kind of marquee player, for want of a better phrase, is Christian Benteke, who is their captain and has actually scored a lot of goals. But the other day he just couldn't move, or was just refusing to move, and the ball was just bouncing off him. But Klich was brilliant. He was just, he still got that intelligence, just making sure anyone that had the ball could just pass it to him and he'd look after it. He barely misplaced a pass all night. And again, I just couldn't help but think, like, no wonder Jesse Marsh didn't have a clue what to do with you. But yeah, DC came back and won the game. Klich was very good as he was time was running out. He was up to his usual tricks, shithousing a bit, which was nice to see.
And obviously, I'm just looking at the teams here. Sam Surridge playing for Nashville there. What on earth's he doing in the MLS? It's just a strange one. Just noticed the name on there. Played for like Forest?
Forest, yeah. I mean, it's a great move, go live in Nashville. But yeah, even his presence made me quite angry as well, just seeing like some Champo shit house. Probably scored against Leeds, no doubt, one day.
You've suffered for your art as well, haven't you? You've been on some right old bus journeys.
Yeah. So I flew from Vegas to Charlotte. Even that was a daft long old journey. It's a silly old country. It's too big. And then, yeah, from Charlotte to DC was like a 10-hour Greyhound bus journey, which felt quite intense because I felt like the drivers more than anyone just wanted to scrap with people who had sort of had any question for them. It was like, just fuck off and sit down and shut up. And then, yeah, from DC to Pittsburgh yesterday was like 7 hours, but that felt all right in comparison to the 10 hours. It's been quite interesting just stopping off in little random outposts of America where people are wandering the bus terminal shouting at themselves.
I mean, that's the same as bus terminals here.
I was going to say bus stations the world over are full of oddballs, aren't they?
Yeah, that's fair. You learn to keep your head down again.
Absolutely. So you're back in a few days. You're looking forward to that? And the jet lag setting in properly?
I suppose so. I'm in Pittsburgh for a few days just to kind of chill out and hang out now. Done a lot of traveling, seen a lot of football. DCR on the telly tomorrow night, so I might watch that, see how Klich's getting on again. But yeah, a few days in Pittsburgh chilling out, and then I am going to meet up with some Leeds fans out here, actually. Should say that all the Leeds fans I've met out here have been brilliant. I'm wearing a Philly Whites shirt, which they very kindly gave me on Sunday, and they were all super nice. There's met with a couple of people in Charlotte as well. And it's mad to see their passion for it. They're lunatics. Like the Philly Whites, as I was leaving, they were making plans to meet up for the Harrogate preseason friendly. And I was just like, lads, come on. You need to save yourselves. Don't do this. There's 46 games to go yet. Calm down.
I must admit, I was, knowing you were in Pittsburgh, I was doing my standard walking about the town on Google Maps that I do tend to do when I just get interested in looking at a place. The baseball stadium there looks amazing. It's like overlooking the river and the kind of, because obviously it's the shape of a baseball stadium is... I
think they call it a diamond.
Has got an open side to it, but it's like the open side is like overlooking the river and the city. It looks amazing.
Beautiful.
So it's very similar to the East Stand at Ellen Road, how you can see Cottingley out of it from the top of there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go on Friday. People have said that's like one of the best places to watch baseball here. So I know nothing about baseball. I don't understand it, but I'm going to go enjoy the view at least.
From Copa America, let's talk Euros then, shall we? They're over as well. Finished on the same day. And England losing the final to a superior Spain team, wasn't it, in the end? I think it's absolutely fair to say I don't think I've met anybody who's argued that it should have been a different outcome.
No, and as Leeds fans, we know we're not allowed nice things. So as soon as we equalised, I turned around to some mates I was in the pub with, who are all Leeds fans, and we all agreed this will go badly in some way, and it did. Just
that little bit of hope, isn't it? I mean, I've tried to avoid emotional investment in this tournament, which I've actually found to be quite a tonic, not getting too invested in it. But then in that final, you think, oh, well, they've scored now. Surely the momentum swings with England. Surely that they're going to now just go on and win this. And of course,
if there's one hallmark of Southgate's reign, though, it's probably failing to seize any momentum, isn't it? If you think about like the Croatia semi-final, the Italy final, where you go, right, we're on top here. We just need to, oh no, we're sitting back. They've scored. Right, fine. We've not won anything. We were basically terrible all tournament, weren't we? I think we played all right against the Netherlands for a bit, is my memory of it. And then, actually, I thought the first half against Spain, because I accept they're a better team and would probably beat us, to have not conceded in that first half and kept it looking relatively tight, I actually didn't mind. But then obviously Rodri went off and it was like, oh, depending on how you assess it, he's arguably their best player and certainly maybe the most important player. So I was like, this maybe opens it up a bit, and then they just scored. It was like, oh shit! Should probably have marked that winger who's been absolutely brilliant all tournament instead of just giving him a free shot in the box.
The Welsh guy, Nico Williams.
That's the one.
Not the child, the Welsh guy.
Well, the Welsh guy gone off as well with Rodri, obviously.
Of course, yes. Yeah,
so loads of Welshmen playing for him.
Yeah, very good.
I find it bizarre though that across this tournament we've had to rely on moments of individual brilliance. When you look at the attacking team that we could have there. The idea of just waiting for Bellingham to produce something ridiculous. And the goal Palmer scored was fabulous, a really, really good goal. But you're not looking at a team like Spain, and you're not thinking they have to just produce something in a moment here. They're gonna build something. And I, for one, am glad that he's resigned, get someone else in, so that we can hopefully start to tap into that instead of realising that the defence is the weakest part of the team. So we're going to try and defend better. Just go out and win games instead.
Yeah. It's the Bielsa thing, isn't it? You're thinking about Marcelo again, aren't you?
Always.
Yeah.
Does the day end in Y? Yes, it does.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, Southgate has done well for England, hasn't he? But ultimately came up short again. And I think it's fine to say he is a really nice bloke. And I've got a lot of time for him, a lot of respect for him. He's done a good job, but perhaps not quite good enough. But it's fine margins in football, isn't it? Fine margins.
And we still, I know we've got to got to a semi-final, a couple of finals. But we have had easy runs in all these tournaments. Like we've never actually beaten anyone good. I know we beat Germany in the last Euros, but that was a poor Germany side. And other than that, like we've been so fortunate in this run. Like if we'd have had Spain's draw, I don't think we'd have even got on the group stage because they beat Croatia and Italy in the group stage, and then Georgia, who also were really good in this tournament. I think we'd have probably got a point from that group if we'd have been in it. So. I mean, is it completely doing him down to say that he's just been lucky throughout? But I kind of think he has, and I think we may reflect on it as like missed opportunities as much as anything. Because to have got to two finals, even if you on balance you're maybe not as good a team. Like, I suppose the Italy game, I think we should have beaten Italy in the last one. Home advantage. I think it was not a good Italy team. They failed to qualify for World Cups at either side of it, didn't they? They're not. Under by any stretch a good Italy side, and just had our number, even though Chiellini was like 50.
Yeah, did you see that he was twisting the knife as well, wasn't he, on Sunday? He commented afterwards saying that he was glad to see lots of English anticipation that was then like wiped out afterwards and lots of sad faces.
It's just fair enough. But yeah, I saw Kieran Maguire had he put out a tweet. He was doing it based on FIFA rankings into domestic positions, and he was saying that so England becomes Spurs in this because of our ranking, but it essentially translates as...
It was quite Spursy, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, beating Preston, then Leicester, then Exeter, then Portsmouth, then Burnley, then Newcastle, then losing to Man United in the final.
Right.
So it's basically beating a load of teams that you'd expect equivalent nature teams to beat, and then losing to anyone even a bit better.
It's interesting that the criticism of Southgate, there are parallels with the people who are not a fan of Farke's football and I've wavered on this at different times. There's times when it felt really ineffectual. There were times when it was very effective. And we swung between two poles on that one. But it's a similar sort of criticism, isn't it? Like being risk averse.
Yeah, but one big positive that I was contemplating yesterday is that at least for the last 8 years in all those tournaments, we've progressed. Even if the football hasn't been as we wanted it to be, we've won penalty shootouts in a couple of those tournaments. We've had something to cheer about as England fans or England adjacent fans. We've discussed on this podcast last week that it doesn't quite rouse the same spirit, but at least there has been a proper run that we can get behind. I think back to the tournaments when I was in my sort of formative football years, when I was sort of 14, 16, 18, 20, those sort of ages, and we would stumble out of the group and then lose in the quarterfinal, full stop, every time. And so to have the last 8 years, whether it was a lucky draw or we were not facing the best teams, take that aside because we still had something to cheer for. And it has been a lot of fun. But there is just lingering resentment looking at that attacking lineup saying, why are we not going out and outscoring teams instead of not trying to concede?
I think against Spain, you can say, oh, well, Spain are really good. You can't go out to outscore them. But like Denmark and Slovenia and Slovakia, come on. Come on. Well, we're allowed to go at these teams. I know you can say there's no easy games in international football, but some are definitely easier than others.
I was going to say what I think you were skirting around there is you don't want to come across as being like arrogant or the English exceptionalism that people really don't like, non-English people. But I was just going to say, based on the FIFA rankings alone, you should be beating those teams because they're ranked lower than you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's English exceptionalism. I think it's look at the evidence of our eyes. We've got some great players in lots of very exciting positions. Why should we not think we can go out and beat teams of our own merit and not just hope that there are moments of individual brilliance or that Slovenia don't get a second goal?
Yeah,
it's when you break it down, the idea of us holding on to a 1-0 advantage is kind of ridiculous when we can go and further that and progress. But it's just Bielsa talking through me again.
I was going to say my next question was going to be, and it's something I think we've probably touched on before, but hey, let's go there again. He's ruined football for all of us, but in the best way possible, hasn't he?
Yeah, I suppose so. But equally, would he be able to do anything with England? I don't know. I know it's one of those things that you often see discussed for imagine Bielsa with this team.
I was going to say every Leeds fan has run this equation. Surely everybody.
But maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. We've just spoken to Rob, obviously. Like Uruguay's players not being entirely Leedsy. You can look at the stats of it as well, like passes completed and possession and stuff. All the stuff that was always massively in our favour at Leeds. It looks a bit cagey in comparison, but that's because you don't have the time to spend with the players, etc., etc. So I don't know. It's hard to know what you want from a manager, isn't it? Like you're saying, Southgate has been very functional, and I suppose he has just qualified us for tournaments as well, because we all remember not qualifying for 94 under Graham Taylor. Then there was it felt like there was often a bit of heroics involved in qualifying. Like there was the 0-0 we got in Italy in 98. There was Beckham's free kick to qualifiers. There was McLaren not qualifying us for, was that the Euros or World Cup? Can't really remember.
Euros.
But there were lots of times where there was loads of jeopardy in it. And in recent years, there has just been none. It's just been you just get 5 games in, you've won your first 5 group games, and you go, all right, that's done.
Well, the expansion of UEFA probably is partly to do with that as well. So there's far more teams, which means the tournament's got bigger and the groups are easy to get out of for the major nations.
Yeah. So you're taking that away from him as well. So 0 credit for Southgate.
He's done good things, but it's not quite being good enough for the talent he's got at his disposal. Which again, I'm drawing parallels with Farke as well. People made that accusation last year about the attacking talent in the Leeds team.
I suppose Farke did, in some ways, a similar job to Southgate at the start as well. Quite literally, in fact, coming in to clean up after Allardyce and trying to repair a bit of a broken thing. Because it did feel nice. The waistcoat years of Southgate felt quite positive because it was maybe when there was no expectation, and it was like Harry Maguire was someone that people loved because he was in defence and he was just some big daft lad, and it was like, oh, he's good, he's good in the air, and he's not from a big team, and then he obviously signed for big teams and everyone hates him by the end, and maybe that's the journey that this team has been on. I don't know. I don't feel bad for slagging Southgate off. But I actually do
You've not slagged him off.
Well,
You've just made an observation about the football not being quite good enough.
I suppose. I feel like I've taken everything away from him, though. All the stuff that people say of like, yeah, but he's got us to finals. I'm like, yeah, but he was lucky.
You've played the ball. You've played the ball, not the man, is what I will say.
Okay, but I do like him. So sorry, Gareth.
And he lives not too far from it. He's Harrogate based, I think.
Yeah, he's up by a reservoir in here somewhere. That's all I've got on that.
Walks around the house in a life jacket just in case.
And so on and so forth. Yeah, we'll be back later in the week then to wrap up things from a Leeds United perspective.
Who do you want the next England manager to be? We've not even gotten to that yet. The odds are out. He's resigned, hasn't he?
I would like it to be somebody good.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Yeah.
I see, I'd rather it was Frank Lampard. No, I wouldn't.
I mean,
Dave Hockaday.
Let's lean into the Lampard thing for a minute.
Why?
Because he's odds of what 20-1 at the minute, so he's probably an outsider, but he's in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sort of 6 or 7th favourite at the minute. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, given Southgate's own trajectory and Lampard's kind of as one of the favoured sons of England, the FA. You could imagine that kind of the old suits, the old tie brigade kind of go, oh, it's Frank Lampard.
He knows the country.
Exactly.
Is that a phrase?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's some Chelsea dickhead at FA level who this will be good.
I mean, the current favourite is Lee Carsley, which is hugely... Oh, no, it's actually Potter's moved. Potter's just about pushing out Lee Carsley as favourite.
He's the obvious one, isn't he? Because he's not taking any of the jobs.
And it went well for him at Chelsea under that sort of pressure.
Yeah.
Well, but I would be fine with Potter taking it. Lee Carsley feels like a bit of a risk.
Well, that's what they did with Southgate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They promoted from within, from the 21s, and he's done okay. But I know you've just slagged him off to within an inch of his life. But I think the Carsley one would be a very FA move to just give it to Carsley, a little underarm in it. It'd be really difficult not to wish England to lose if Frank Lampard was in charge.
You could really lean into hating him again. I was thinking watching this tournament because I thought Mainu was actually really good in midfield, and obviously he's a scum bastard. Now he's not been in the team long enough for me to actually form any opinion of him as a scum bastard yet. He just is like a good young player at the moment, but that'll come. Give him another 2 years playing well for Man United, and I'll hate him.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's only right that we lean into this. That if there's going to be a scum bastard in the middle of the pitch, get a manager I hate as well, and I can go full John Terry, Frank Lampard era England again and just start really hating him.
Yeah. What would you do with your time, though? What would you do with your time?
What do you mean? Just in the summer?
Yeah.
You can watch the tournaments. The tournaments are better without England, really. The England games have been absolutely awful in this tournament. So maybe I could have just supported like Georgia.
Yeah.
Just lean into that.
Similar flag,
that'll do, won't it? Don't need to go down Sports Direct for anything new. You can just repurpose that one.
You don't need to change your tattoo too much.
No, exactly. They probably need to have a word with Georgia about adopting the bulldog or something. But, other than that, it should be fine.
Give it a while. So, yeah, what I was going to say was we'll wrap up the Leeds stuff because whilst there's a bit of stuff has happened, not a huge amount, like Joe Rothwell, some links to Jayden Bogle, Glenn Kamara being linked out, but none of it's really properly moved just yet. We're still waiting for things to give. So we'll come back in the next day or two and we'll round that up then and hope that something has happened in between times because we've got games coming up.
We have. There's a game today, actually.
This is the secret one, isn't it? So we're playing Rangers behind closed doors today. That's Tuesday, the time of recording. And we only know about this because Philippe Clement mentioned it to Rangers TV, their in-house TV channel, saying that they were playing the Leeds second team.
It's a really, really, really second team.
Right.
It's full of young players and I've not even heard of most of them.
Right.
They're obviously it's not an under-21s team. It's under that.
Right.
So, proper children.
Like the back up to Charlie Crew kind of level.
That kind of level.
That kind of level. I'm just wondering if they gave you the option of playing the whole season in secret and then just tell us how they got on in May, would that be preferable to going through the next 9 or 10 months?
No. You need the storylines. You need to feel it. Of course you do.
But the playoffs next year, medically induced coma.
We will wrap it up there then. Back later on in the week. We'll see you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.